The story surrounding Tekken 8 is getting wilder and wilder. This article is very old, about 2 weeks old, I would think. And basically, scalpers were already selling closed network test codes. This is something that already pisses me off. The reason being is I know, and when you go online, there's a lot of people who have signed up for this and never got a key. I remember when the first network test came out, I was extremely disappointed because I signed up for it. I never got a key, and I remember how it felt like. You always feel like you're on this losing streak. With me in particular, I signed up for beta programs before and to test games before, but I never ever got the opportunity, and this was the first one ever for me. It's a big deal and a massive deal because I've been playing Tekken for 21 years now, since I was a child, since I was like basically 11 years old, and I love this franchise. I absolutely love everything to do with Tekken, and when I saw the story break, I started thinking, or when I saw the story now, actually not break, but when I saw the article now, I remember getting pissed off because when I got my code for the second round of the network test, I was extremely, extremely happy. It was like as if though I got access to the full game, even though it was just a part of it. Even though it was only for 3 days, I was able to contribute like 16 hours worth of trying to test this thing as much as possible, and I do not regret it. I've put more time into the Tekken 8 closed network test than I have in some of the AAA games that I own on my shelf. That's how crazy it is. It took me, I think it took me my first playthrough of Metal Gear Rising was like about 6.5 hours, and then my second playthrough was just around the 5 hour mark where I was like bolting through the game. It's one of the best games ever made, and I haven't even put in that amount of time into it. And that's a full game. So just saying. Now, basically, what's happened over here was scalpers were basically selling code for Tekken 8's closed network test for what looks like £40. This is basically half the price of the full game when it launches. This is where it gets a bit insane. I suspect what's happened over here is that codes have been seemingly limited as evidenced by this 3-page reset error thread for fans asking for codes. So basically, what I've also suspected as well, what's happened over here is obviously these scalpers have created bot accounts, and scalpers have now literally invaded beta testing for video games because of the fact that when you get these closed network keys, they are given to you for free provided you qualify for it. I'm not too sure what the criteria for it is, but when they're given to you, it's not something that you can actually purchase. It's not something that you can actually go and borrow or lend to somebody. The only way to get access to these beta builds of, like, for example, Tekken 8, is to actually get the key from Namco themselves. So I suspect now that scalpers have actually seen this, they know that people are desperate for this, especially with Street Fighter 6, sorry. And I think what had happened over there was somehow players were able to crack a beta version of the game and play it for several months, especially these professional players who basically cheated their way into polishing up their skills before everybody else got a hold of the game and effectively just started demolishing anybody who started off from day one. That gap that you get for training, like right now, there's even a cracked version of Tekken 8 floating around, which if you've already got it for Steam, I don't suggest you get it. You don't know what it could do to your account. I'm not so positive about that. I mean, what if they just ban your account? Maybe you can get a new account if you don't have many games in it, but like I myself have hundreds of dollars of worth of games, and I don't want those things to go missing if my account gets banned or anything like that. I don't know if that can happen. Just saying. Now, with scalpers, they've obviously invaded every facet of the retail industry. Anytime something is limited, they will be there, guaranteed to mess things up for everybody and ruin everybody's lives. And that's what's happened over here. Effectively, these guys, from what I suspect, they have obviously filled out these bot accounts all over the internet and subscribed for these keys or applied for these keys, got these keys, and then just started selling them like crazy all over the place. I mean, if you look at the prices over here, look at this. This is the test code for PS5, the UK version, again over here down below. And these guys probably, for all we know, maybe they've had like 100 email accounts, and maybe they've got like 10 of those email accounts, and now they've sold 10 of these keys out there. So it's such a wild thing to go through, and I hope people are not engaging in this kind of behavior. Excuse me. Because if you do this, it's going to be happening forever. The people who legitimately want to play this game are going to have to pay scalpers at every corner just to get access to those beta builds. And it's not like that's doing anybody any favors, because if these keys don't get sold, let's just say this guy had 10 keys and maybe 2 people bought it. 8 of those keys got wasted. Those are 8 players who missed out. Those are also 8 players less on the servers to stress test those servers. Namco wants to get as accurate as an idea as possible in terms of how much can they handle on the network with Tekken 8. Now, if these keys are not entered into, if you miss them by email, or if players don't stress it, Namco will probably be thinking, hey, look, people either weren't interested, let's not do this for the next game maybe, or people will just say, you know what, forget about stress testing as a whole, remove beta access. That itself is also damaging to players like me, for example, because the reason being is now that I've played Tekken 8 and I got a taste for it, I know the quality of this game is absolutely insane. I'm more likely to buy this game at launch. And I know there are some diehard people out there who would buy the game without testing it, but for me and people and other people like me who like to actually see what the game is like and feel it before purchasing it on day one, it's different, you know? Like now I'm more inclined to buy it at day one. I'm against buying day one AAA video games because ever since like the PS4 era, almost every single day one game that I've ever played was an utter disappointment. I had to go back years later and replay them, including the boring segments of those games, you know? And now like this is absolute insanity because you don't know to what extent developers will just say it's not worth it. What if, for example, like 500 keys weren't used? That's 500 less players, and I'm pretty sure the service could have actually used the services, or the network could have used the services of those 500 players, stressing the living life out of it. Now, apparently, this is not the first time this has happened. Mortal Kombat 1 had a stress test a few weeks ago. I don't know how these codes were actually handed out to people. I never saw anywhere to apply for it, and I didn't apply, regrettably. Now, apparently, these things were averaging $100 to $200 and up to $1,000. Now, there's no indication that anyone ever bought these things, but still, this kind of practice needs to be nipped in the bud. We need to do away with it immediately. Please, when these kind of things happen, do not support it. To spend that kind of money for 3-day access to effectively the beta build of Tekken, which only has 16 characters. The online at first was absolutely amazing. Eventually became difficult to find players with a solid connection. And when people see you've only, for some reason, whenever there's a 1-bar connection, people just don't want to start a fight. I didn't care what connection I've got, 4 or 1. In some cases, they were even 3 bars. I just accepted every single fight that I got into. People were rejecting the 1-bar fights. And I'm not too sure whether it was a problem on my end or not. But from what I could see, though, some matches where there was only like a 2-bar connection, it was still playable. And there was like a few frame delays here, up to like 6 or 8 frame delays. But still a very solid experience. It wasn't unplayable or just broken, like Tekken 7 is sometimes. Whew. But you know, with this going on, I hope that we see an end to it. I don't want this being some sort of like solidified practice, because scalpers have already caused enough mayhem and have already ruined the enjoyment in enough industries for more than enough people. And it's up to us as people, or up to us as gamers or customers, not to support them. Make scalpers feel it where it hurts the most, in their back pocket. Let them know that when they do these kind of things, you are not willing to endorse it with purchasing from them. Even if they got these keys for free, it cost them nothing to set up these bot accounts and ruin people's happiness. Don't give them the money. Do not give them that satisfaction. Because if you don't give them the money, they will stop doing this. And I'm going to leave the video over there. That's it for today, everybody. I hope you all had a good day so far. I hope to see you in the next video. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Comment down below on what you think about scalpers. What is your opinion about them? If you're a scalper, go to hell. And I'll see everybody else in the next video. Goodbye.